All right, people, going live on the website today. We are back in Oregon, more specifically Klamath County in the south central part of the state, and more specifically still the northern part of the county, halfway between Chiloquin and Klamath, in this small rural residential subdivision over here. Now, normally, guys, when we do these videos, we like to talk about the region first and narrow our focus onto the property, but this time, I'm going to start on the property and expand outward for reasons which will become clear as we go. All right, so our subject property today can be found in the Mount Scott Meadow subdivision, a small community consisting of no more than about 300 parcels occupying this area here, just east of US 97. And of course, it's worth noting that US 97 is a major arterial cutting through the Pacific Northwest, starting in Northern California and extending all the way up into Washington, fairly close to Seattle. And of course, along that route, you will pass right in front of the entrance to Mount Scott Meadow. This, by the way, is what that looks like, and this is what the turnoff end of the subdivision looks like. Point being, guys, easy access, and as we'll see from the pictures of the roads, an easy area to navigate, no matter your vehicle type. Now, the subject property is a 1.34 acre lot located at the eastern end of the subdivision along Cloudcap Drive. As we can see from the photos, Cloudcap is a well-maintained gravel and cinder road, and it has residential power lines running north to south along the property boundary. Now, it should be noted, guys, there is a considerable presence of underground utilities at the entrance of the subdivision, indicating phone, cable, internet, but there are no utility boxes throughout the sub. Now, based on the number of developed home sites you see in this region, it would suggest that this service exists throughout the sub or can easily be extended and connected to whatever you decide to develop on the land. Speaking of the land, the subject property is a forested lot consisting of a mix of conifers such as lodgepole and ponderosa pine, and while the terrain is very level, it is also densely forested. So while I would normally tell you the lot should be easy to park, camp, or build on, realistically you're going to have to do some tree clearing and a little bit of landscaping first before you can even get a vehicle onto the land, much less begin building a structure. Speaking of structures, segue again, if we come back to the listing page and click on the zoning restrictions tab, we will learn that Mount Scott Meadow, like most of the rural subs in Klamath County, is zoned R2. And if we click on this link here, it will bring up a PDF, which is an excerpt from the county zoning ordinance, which expands further on what R2 means. And like most county zoning ordinances, this one is very light on details, so I will fill in some gaps and say simply that land in an R2 zone can be developed with a single-family residence, mobile home, or modular home. In addition, because Klamath County is very permissive, structures that are difficult to get permitted elsewhere, such as shipping container homes, geodesic domes, and barn dominiums, would also be acceptable here, as long, of course, as they are constructed per state building codes. Now, in addition, guys, tiny homes are acceptable in this region as well, but I will return to the square footage requirements in just a moment, because when we come back here to the listing page, we will also learn that Mount Scott Meadow subdivision has no HOA and no annual dues. That said, when the subdivision was first created, the developer drew up a set of covenants and restrictions to run with the land. And if you click this link here, it will take you to a copy of that document. Now, this document consists largely of what we like to refer to as reasonable good neighbor restrictions, such as disposals of trash and prohibitions on excess noise. Additionally, if you read this document, you'll find it defers largely to county zoning, state building codes, environmental regs, the things you'd have to abide by anyway. The only thing in this document that is more strict than county zoning is item number 7, which has a minimum square footage requirement of 500 square feet. R2 zoning only requires 300 square feet, but this one insists the structure be at least 500. So either way, a tiny home would be acceptable here. It just depends on how tiny you want to go. And finally, guys, camping and RVing, because I know you're all going to ask about that, is allowed out here for 21 days in a 6-month period, longer with a permit and longer still if you are developing the land with a permanent structure. So just to put that another way, an RV can't be used as a permanent home, but can be used during the construction of a permanent home, which of course may take up to 12 months to complete. Okay, guys, now with all of that out of the way, it brings me to one of the best aspects of this property, namely the presence of Scott Creek, which runs along the 160-foot eastern boundary of the land. And I know right now many of you are thinking, oh my God, this is incredible. Hemingway's going to show me a bunch of pictures of a creek now. I can't wait to look at this. Right, well, funny story again, guys. Turns out for the second time this year, I sent a photographer out to a property with a creek running through it or alongside it, and the photographer did not think to take pictures of said creek. I've got 47 photos of downed trees, but no photos of a creek. Now, in his defense, he approached the land from the west, and the creek is on the east side of the property, so he didn't know it was there. Given the dense tree cover, he never actually made it to the easternmost part of the land, I guess. I don't know. Whatever the case, now begins the part of the video where Hemingway does a forensic analysis of maps and Zillow listings to evidence to you that there is in fact a creek here, and that, in the absence of photos, I'm not making it up. Here we go. So first off, if we go back to Google Maps, looking at the subdivision here, we will see Scott Creek running this way into the region. Then if we go from satellite view to map view, you will see that the creek runs along the eastern boundary of the sub and acts as the dividing line between Mount Scott Meadow and the private land to the east. Additionally, when we take the little guy on the map here and hover him over the road where the creek is at, then drop him down to street view, we will see creek over here and creek over here. Additionally, if we go to the drone overlays, we can see the creek over here entering the subdivision at the highway. Additionally, when we go to land ID and look at the parcel map here and turn on the water layer, we can see not only that the creek runs along the eastern end of the subdivision and hence the subject property, but if we pull back, we will also see the Klamath Marsh to our east. But I know, people I know, many of you are watching this right now like, I'm not sold on this whole creek thing, Hemingway. I anticipated that. And that is why I will next direct your attention to Zillow, where if you type in Klamath County, Oregon, specify that you only want to filter for lots and land, and then look at only the sold listings from the last 3 years, then zoom in on the map to the part of the county where this subdivision is located, you will find this $22,000 sold comp right here. And if we click on that, we will see that in 2023, this 0.95 acre property, which features pictures of the creek, was listed and sold. And if we scroll down to the property description, we will see this first sentence, which reads, beautiful 1 acre parcel in Mount Scott Meadow Estates with 300 feet of creek from branch of Scott Creek. Now, I'm sure many of you are thinking, okay, well, that property sits next to the creek, but how do I know this property does? Another excellent question, guys. So here's what we do. We look for the context clues in the listing. First off, it is a 0.95 acre lot. Over here we can see it is labeled as lot 1. We can see it's sold for $21,500. And if we scroll all the way down to the sales history, we will see that it sold for that price on or about October 20th, 2023. So knowing all that, if we go back to our parcel map on Land ID, we can see our property right here, and if we click on the one just north of it, we will see on the left-hand side here that it is a 0.95 acre parcel. Its legal description says that it is lot 1, and it was purchased not precisely, but approximately in late October 2023. Additionally, if you look at the shape of the property on the parcel map and come back to the Zillow listing and click on the photo gallery here, we will see that way down at the bottom, the last image shown is of the parcel map with this exact same lot highlighted in red. And if all of that were not good enough, I will direct your attention back to our listing page, where under the Maps and Boundaries section, we have a copy of the plat map where we will see that that same parcel has an eastern boundary of roughly 300 feet as described in the Zillow listing. So in summation, guys, the property does have creek frontage along its eastern boundary. If you want to see photos of it, you can look at these images here on Zillow. And yes, my life and these videos would be a lot easier if my photographers would just take pictures of the creek. And by the way, guys, quick thing, just want to point out that that property is markedly smaller than the one we're selling, but it was listed and sold back in 2023 for more than we're asking for today. Competitive pricing, yet another advantage of buying from Hemingway land. Now, for those of you still awake and watching this video thinking, oh my god, Hemingway, I don't know, this property could get any better. Prepare to have your minds blown, people, because when we go back to Google Maps and pull back just a little, just a scooch, we will see that this property sits in shockingly close proximity to this body of water over here, namely Crater Lake National Park, aka one of the most iconic and off-photographed scenic attractions in the entire state of Oregon. Not just good for the lake, by the way, but also the plenty of hiking trails and campgrounds, including, by the way, the Scott Creek campground. So, for those of you who like to spend your summers in your RVs, traveling throughout the West, hopping from national park to national park, today's property is ideal for you. Additionally, if you are merely someone living in the Tri-County region, living up in Bend or Eugene, and you're looking for some good recreational land, a property for weekend retreats, or something to use during the summer, this is a great property for you as well. And for the local Oregonians who are snobbish about being around tourists, you'll be glad to know that today's property also sits in very close proximity of Diamond Lake up here, Upper Klamath Lake down here, Lake of the Woods over here, and I'm sure about a million other lakes and outdoor attractions you will find in this outdoor attraction-rich region. Additionally, guys, it is also worth noting that Mount Scott Meadow Subdivision is not only ideally located, but on a price per acre basis, it is the most affordable rural residential sub you will find in this part of the state in such close proximity to these places. Now finally, guys, if you do choose to buy and develop land out here, it's worth noting that Chiloquin sits about 20 minutes south. Chiloquin, of course, is not a big town, but they got some small grocery and hardware stores, which might come in handy. But if you're looking for bigger box stores like Walmart and Home Depot, you're going to be traveling either 50 miles south into Klamath Falls or about an hour and a half north into Bend. Of course, in between, there's some other small towns like Chemult and Crescent, which I'm sure will provide easy access to some other amenities, but I didn't send anyone there to photograph those towns, meaning I don't have any images to cut to. So for now, guys, we'll just leave it at Chiloquin and Klamath Falls. So if you would like to purchase this property, we have one of two ways in which you can do it. For cash buyers, those who can pay the entire purchase price all at once, simply come up here, click the Buy Now button, and you will be taken to this screen, which details the purchasing process for you, whether you elect to pay our company directly or if you prefer to close and fund the deal through title and escrow. Either way, the whole thing begins with a $500 deposit, and then we get you documentation within 24 hours. If you elect to pay us directly, that documentation will include a copy of a new deed, which, once approved by you, we will sign, notarize, and mail off to the county. The county will record it, and congratulations, the property will officially be yours. And yes, guys, it's really that easy. If, however, you do not trust paying this much money over the internet to people you've never met, we completely understand. Fortunately for you, we have the title escrow option, and the way that one works is that you place the $500 down, we get you a sale purchase agreement, you sign it, we sign it, submit it to the title company, and they do the rest. And when we say do the rest, guys, that includes, but is not limited to, giving us a new deed to sign and requesting funds from you. Funds, which, by the way, will be released to us only once the property has been deeded into your name and recorded with the county. If, however, you do not have the entire purchase price of the land right now today, that brings us to the second way in which you can purchase this property, and that is with our owner financing option, aka an affordable down payment, followed by subsequent monthly payments. And if we click the Buy Now button on this option, we will learn what the terms are on this specific property with the down payment, monthly payment, term, and interest rate described up here. And the way this one works is that once you place the $500 down, we get you documentation, again, within 24 hours, which, again, we are going to run through title and escrow. And mind you guys, when you're doing owner financing, we're basically loaning you money, which you pay back slowly over time. And thus, we want to make sure that that loan is originated properly, per the laws within that state, and that both our interest in the land, as well as your right to it, are protected. Point being, we send the contract off to title, and over the course of the next 30 to 45 days, their attorneys draft these state-specific agreements, and upon completion, they will collect the remainder of the down payment from you, set up recurring billing, and they will handle both the collection and disbursement of funds for the remainder of that contract. And of course, over the life of the loan, our company will have a lien on the property. It's called lien in first position. And once all the payments have been made and contractual obligations fulfilled, that lien will be lifted and the property officially deeded to you. And of course, as with all of our listings, guys, we have a copy of the contract we use to initiate these transactions linked here. That way you can review it and know exactly what you'll be asked to sign before placing even $1.